All right, guys. Once again, another video in the series for Unraid. We're going to do Grafana. But this Grafana is going to be a little bit different. So, off the bat, we are going to be using the cloud Grafana, right? The online Grafana. Um, I like to use the online one because, first and foremost, it's free. So you can, once you get it all set up and stuff, you will be able to actually just, log on to Grafana online, and then you can just simply pull up all your all your stuff regarding your Unraid server. And I'm planning on doing the open wart routers really soon, probably immediately after this. But you see, we're just gonna go here, right? So you create an account. The account's free. I think they start you off on a trial for a second, because like some of these providers do. They'll start you on a trial with something that has a lot more stuff than you're even going to possibly use. And then once the trial expires, right, it just automatically goes to like your free version. All right, but once you just create your account, it's free. Yeah, and then just go ahead and go to Grafana. All right. And then I'm gonna actually just go ahead and just give you guys a quick look, right? So I have both my I get both the Nvidia, as you see here, right? I get both like the Nvidia GPU information. Like I have a specific dashboard I'm using right here for that. And then there's like the actual. Come on, I can just click on over it. And then there's the actual dashboard, which comes with a heck of a lot of stuff, right? Quite a lot of things. Now, it's not the prettiest, as you might have seen some of them, but that is for you to set up, and that's with I think it's like, was it like Telegraph or something? My goal is just to get you set up, connected first, and then after that, then we can then we'll explore getting the nicer things. Just because like some of the nicer stuff is based off of old I think like it's like old packages or old APIs or something. And so like you'd have to like by hand update them yourself, unless you find somebody that's willing to share with you a dashboard for the new stuff. And you know how to also update the Telegraph Docker. I did it once, updating Telegraph Docker, but I just got tired and busy with other stuff. But with that being said, let's actually go ahead and get started, right? So first thing I am going to go ahead and do is let me just nuke these dashboards real quick. So I'm going to delete these two. Those two, I guess, like come start. I don't know what they are, but I'll just leave them be for right now. All right. Let me go ahead and nuke. All right, because I want you guys to see most of the setup stuff we will be doing. All right. So let's talk about packages you're going to need. All right. There's only 2 Docker images you're going to need, and then there's going to be some plugins. Okay. All right, so to start, obviously the main one that we need is going to be Prometheus, right? So if I just go ahead and search and do Prometheus, here we go. Make sure you always get the official stuff whenever possible. But here's Prometheus. You need to install Prometheus Node Exporter, and then you can also add, like if for example, like using Nvidia stuff, I think this is good for like VM machines, right? If you use any of these other extra ones, you can you can grab them too. All right. Obviously I'm not going to be covering any of those, but when I show you about the Nvidia one, it's going to be really easy. It's going to be the same way as setting all these up. You just have to find out what's the right port number that these are set to export to. Okay, so the way it works, right, is Prometheus is the getter. Okay, Prometheus is the one that's going to scrape or get the data from all of the exporters that you have. In my mind, I should be able to install an exporter on the open wart routers, for example, and then just point it, the config file, just point it to the IP address of those routers with the right port number, and then it should be able to grab that data. That's what I believe. All right. So that's what we do. Install these 2 are plugins, so there's no configurations for these 2. So it's really just going to be Prometheus, and then there's going to be one more that you are going to install. But let's set up Prometheus first, and then we'll go back to it. All right, so I'm gonna just go ahead and jump into that Docker image. And where are we at? Right here. All right, Prometheus. Okay, so that way you can see how it's set up. Okay, Prometheus, not going to be much you're going to need to change, right? Unless, of course, like you use like you know, if you have an SSD. For example, I have an SSD specifically for my Docker images, so that's why like that's there. Otherwise, you know, it's the same typical app data or whatever, right? Nothing you're going to need to do here. However, you need to pay attention to the config spot, okay? Because you're going to need to set up the config file, okay? So pay attention. Excuse me. So this, you're going to need to pay attention, right? This is where you're going to put that config file in, all right? So go ahead, right? Grab Prometheus, install it. Like I said, there's nothing you don't need to change unless, like I say, you got special places for special things, right? All right. And then you're going to then, look at it on the dashboard. It should, because, most Docker images start automatically. It will be stopped because without the config file, it will not work. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you are going to go to your shares. Well, before we do that, I'm sorry. Link is going to be in the video description. All right. You're going to need to then grab the actual config file, or you can make it from scratch. I'm going to show you both. All right. So here's this will be the site you'll go to. And then you're going to grab number 4, right? The Prometheus YML. All right. And if you want to be super and just type it out yourself, you can do that too. But in it is going to be something like this, right? It's going to be a target. It'll say localhost 90. And then I forgot what it has defaulted here, but you'll need to replace this with either your host name, right? Remember, guys, I said in all my other videos, right? Host names go a long way. Host names go a long way. I'm telling you. All right. And then you could, host names or IP, you put your host name or IP address in here, and then you're going to give it, port number 9100, right? And then that's going to be for your Unraid system. Now, if you're also using the Nvidia one, you're going to just same target, but 9202. And that's going to be for the Nvidia data to get scraped. Okay. This is what it looks like. See, it's like super simple and easy, right? All you need is just this global stuff right here, right? The external label being the monitor, the job name being Prometheus, how often it's going to be pulling the data, and then the actual targets. And this is where I was saying where I'm pretty sure, which I'll test in the other video, right? That if I just point this to my OpenWart routers, it should be able to grab the data to, assuming that there's a Prometheus node export. I'm sure there is, but we'll figure it out later. But get that, okay? Then go back to your Unraid server. Easiest way you can just go ahead and get it in the right place. If you just go to shares and you just navigate to where your Prometheus folder is, right? Which in my case, because of the way I have my Docker stuff, all my Docker ones that are right out here, which is kind of like how I prefer it. I know it might be messy, but we're going to go ahead and click on the little thing right next to it, right? It says browse, and then boom, right? We see the Prometheus folder. Go to etc, right? Here's the the configuration file that I had. All you would just simply do is just click this upload button. It's really nifty and easy. Upload button, grab that Prometheus YML that you downloaded, that you edited, right? And then hit open, and then you'll see it'll place it right in there, quick and easy. Okay. Once that's done, come back over here. All right, and then start Prometheus. Once Prometheus starts, you're just about good. You should be good, right? The way you're going to test it out is you're going to go into the web UI. I can't remember if you need to set it up or not, but it shouldn't be anything crazy. What you're going to be most interested in is going to be status, target health, and then you should see the targets that you had placed and whether they're up or not. Once this is done, you're already halfway through the battle. All right. already halfway through the battle, and look, like we're only like roughly 10 minutes in. Okay, you're already halfway through. At this point, you have one of two choices, right? You can either install Grafana locally and set it up locally, totally up to you. I'm not covering that. It's going to be the exact same way as the online version, or you can set it up online, which is what I'm doing right now. There's going to be some unique caveats, right? So obviously, we have no way of Grafana accessing our Unraid server directly, right? We're going to get into that. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's jump in the apps, and we're going to look for pdc-agent. All right. This is the important piece here, right? You're going to search it. You're not going to find any matches. You need to now come over here and expand your search to Docker Hub. Okay, now it's going to search Docker Hub. All right, give that a second. Boom, right? Obviously, always official, right? We said official. Grafana, all right? You want the one actually made by Grafana, right? Let's go ahead and hit install. So because this is a Docker Hub container with no information, Unraid is going to ask you, do you want Unraid to do like a test install first so it can see if it can identify all the variables, locations, and stuff that it's going to need, right? You would typically say yes. I'm going to tell you to say no, and the reason for that is because you're going to be doing something because it doesn't work. All right, for this, because you have to provide this argument to commands. Otherwise, it just isn't going to. It doesn't need anything else. It doesn't even need like a config folder or anything. It's literally just think of it like an actual like command prompt program that you're going to run. All right, you just feed it arguments, and then that's that. So what we're going to do is once you get to right here, you need to stay right here. Open up the advanced view, and then what you're going to do is it's post arguments. Post arguments is where you're about to put some information in. So let's go ahead. Let's go to our dashboard. Right now, you already saw how I came into Grafana already. Right, you're going to go to dashboards, and this is where you create dashboard. Before we get to any of that though, all right, let's go ahead and go to data sources, right? We are going to need to add a new data source. So click on data sources, add new data source, right? And again, right, it's like set up almost the exact same way for the local Grafana. All right, we're using Prometheus. So let's click on Prometheus. Now, here's the thing, right? I also tested it a secondary way in case of like you have a more elaborate, like, I don't know, like mainstream production setup or something, business or whatever, right? You can easily just set up, like if you have a domain, you can easily set up like a backend domain, backend, like, what do they call it? Subdomain, right? And then you go into your router and then you port forward the 9090 port to your Unraid server, and then boom, right? You'll be able to pull that data. What we want is we're going to come down here to private data source connection. All right. And you can either click create new right here, or you can, manage, but we're just going to create the new one here, like assuming you don't already have one. And I am actually going to just call it test because I already have one. And I just want you so that way I don't have to like sit there and black out keys and whatnot. And as you can see, it says no agents connected, right? So now we're going to have to come over here anyway. So, all right. So you could have just simply came there and then created the new one already. But all right. So we're here. We already created the private data source. Now we're going to come down here into where the important stuff is. Okay, so look, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to set up Docker, right? Because we're running the PDC agent from a Docker image. So it's going to be PDC agent. You're going to create a new token. All right, you can name it, name it whatever it is you want, and then you're going to hit create token. Okay, it's going to generate it. This is the token you're going to get, right? I'm not actually going to use this, right? Obviously, like you saw, I had the other one. So after this video, I'm gonna delete the whole thing. But this is the token, right? You would get, and then the way it would work is it would show you, right? It would show you, the Docker run command that you would feed that PDC agent that we were getting ready to install in order to what's the word I'm looking for? In order to actually establish a connection to your particular Grafana online to be able to start passing data back and forth. Okay, but there's some important things we need to chop out first. Okay, so let me go ahead and hit copy. and I'm going to easiest way for me is I'm just going to use Notepad real quick. All right, let me paste it. All right, cool, because I already have word wrap on here. All right, now that I have it, okay, so I have it in my Notepad, and now what we're going to do is we need to take out a few things. Okay, so first and foremost, right, we don't need the Docker run. Right, obviously don't need, so take out the Docker run, and then you're obviously going to remove the image tag, right? So the Grafana / pdc-agent latest, you need to chop that out. Okay, and we also need to remove the name, so we need that name pdc-agent to go. Okay, all that you should have is the token, the cluster, which is what it needs to connect to, and then your Grafana ID, right, which is going to be unique for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy that, and then we're going to go ahead and then paste it into the post. As you can see, like I already had it kind of filled in here. That's because I was having issues earlier and I needed to confirm that that's what it is, because I forgot to remove the name agent. All right, let's go ahead and paste it in there, and we're good, right? So there we go, right? All that's all handy dandy. Like I said, that's all you have to set up. Let's go ahead and hit apply, and it should give us a successful build. Give that a second. All right, that is done now. So let's go ahead and see. It should be running, hopefully. All right, it is running. Let's go ahead and let's check us some logs here. And this is what you should see. Okay. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff, right? Just as long as it has this right here. This is the key right here. All right. This is Grafana Private Data Source Connect. So that means now that if we come over here to back on Grafana, hit test agent connection. Look at that. We got it. We got an agent connected. That's it. We're 90% there, and it is good to go, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go back to that data source, right? So go ahead and jump back to, when you was creating the Prometheus, right? It's going to be super helpful. You just refresh. Okay, or you just create scratch, don't matter, right? And then what you're going to do is, this would have been blank, but I had already put localhost in there. You need to give this either the IP address or the host name. Remember, guys, I always say, right, host names go a long way. Or the host name of your server, right? So in my case, I am going to do my host name. I could have done my IP address. I know most people like IP addresses, right? I'm just going to do my host name, right? I'm going to come down here, make sure that private data source is connected to the, the thing I made, and let's save and test. And look at that. She's green. That's it. You're now 98% done. You're 98% done, guys. That's it. We could probably almost stop it right there, but you probably want to see the dashboards now, right? That's already, like, those are right there, the hardest parts right there for you to just get the goddamn, data up to wherever it is you want it to be at, which in this case is our online Grafana thing. So let's go ahead and go to dashboards. We're going to create a new dashboard. I'm going to import dashboard, hit discard because, you was in the middle of creating something, I guess. Hit discard, right? And then you can either give it the JSON file, or you can, import the ID if you know it. That link that I showed you guys, hold on. So right here. Oh yeah, right here, right? They have some in here, or at least they have one, which was the 1860 that you're about to watch me use. And then there's a JSON file for the Nvidia one that you're going to see me put together next. I have so many tabs. Okay, here we go. All right. So 1860, let's go ahead. Let's load her on up. All right. Now, obviously for my fancy people, because you're probably going to, I don't know if you're going to have a separate dashboard for every single Unraid server or every single thing you're going to have. So you probably want to go ahead and give it a unique identifier. I'm going to change mine to my server's name, but just make sure that you select that, that data source, that Prometheus data source that, we created. Give it a name and dashboard. Let's just do that real fast. All right. After I gave it a unique name and whatnot, I even changed the identifier. Like I said, that part is optional. You don't have to do that. Just give it a name. All right. Let's hit import. Okay. And then when you first load this up, you shouldn't see anything at all, right? What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to change the data source, okay, to that Prometheus, okay? And boom, there you go. As you can see, your data comes up. Now, obviously me, because I've had it, I've already had it up and running, and Prometheus was already grabbing data. That's why all of this came up. On your screen, it might still show as NA, like these two are, right? Just wait, give it like 5 minutes, right? And then hit refresh, and then it should load up. It should load up. Just make sure that your data source is Prometheus. And then real quick, if you want to just change it to make sure that it is defaulted to that, what you can do is you can come here to edit, go to variables, go to data source, and then you can actually come down here. And then what you'll do is that you'll, using this format right here, you will give it that Prometheus that you use, right? And what that'll do is that'll make it the only that'll make it the only data source that you'll need to use. So like, for example, because I'm actually use it for the one that I actually am using, which is this, right? So then let me just click out of it, and as you can see, right, it filtered all those ones out and made it to use only this one, right, which is what I want. So let me go ahead and save that dashboard, save it, back to the dashboard, and there we go, right? As you see, it's defaulted to the source that I want. Obviously it's not gonna have anything because I stopped that one in order to do this test, since you can't have, like, you know, multiple applications using the same port. Now let's go ahead and let's add the Nvidia one. So I'm gonna go ahead, hit dashboards, and then I am going to do once again, new import, discard, right? And then they actually provide a JSON file in it, right? So you can scroll down. So also come to this link if you got those other data sources you want to like link up. Just talking about actually creating it. Like, see, here we go. Like, here's the Nvidia thing, and like I said, they give you the JSON file for you to just do the upload, right? Like I said, and they got the information about the pile. Like I said, it's all mostly the same. I think. Well, actually, no. Pi-hole look like it's a little bit more involved, but at least like this part, the YAML thing, right? I said this is the only like most important part, right? As you're adding these, you are going to need to restart Prometheus in order to actually then reload the configuration file. So just keep that in mind. But all right, we already downloaded the thingamabob, right? The JSON file. So I'm gonna just go ahead and add that real quick and do the same thing as before. Just give it the unique name. All right, then we're gonna go ahead and hit import. Okay, now this one, the JSON one, unfortunately, is a little bit different. What we actually need to do, which I'm gonna just give you the easy way, is because they don't have it set up to like where I could just click the variable thing, right, and change data source. You have to actually go into each one of these. So if I click on one and I click on edit, right, data source, this is where you're going to change it. So we're going to change it to our, like I said, the one that we just created, and then you can immediately test it by just hitting query inspector and hit refresh, and there you go, right? As you can see, the data comes up. Now let me, I'll go ahead and take the time and actually just change them all so you can see it. So just make sure you head back, go to edit, and then you do the same thing for each one. I'm gonna just go ahead and knock that out real quick for just like the first like 3, just so you can just see what I'm talking about, right? There's the first 3. Go back, right, and then I'm gonna just save the dashboard, save it, and then bam, right? That's what you would have did. With that being said, that is actually it. You're done. You're done. You just got, now you have your Grafana, you have your dashboard for your GPUs, right? If that's what you use, but most importantly, right, you have your dashboard for what's his face, which let me just turn off the other one and put it back, my current one back on 1 second. All right, just kind of back on just so you can see, right? And then there you go, right? See, we're back, right back at it again. With all of the cool little data points to come up. You can maybe keep an eye out for Me working on getting the I guess the prettier, nicer looking dashboards. I mean, this is already like just plenty enough right here for me to look at whatever, whatever stuff I want to look at that I might need to look at. But yeah, right. This is up to you guys now, to sit there and do what you want with it. But there you go. That's it, right? This is how you get Grafana set up for your Unraid server. And the next one I will be working on probably almost right after this is going to be doing OpenWart. So I'll catch you guys in the next video.